From rust to rebellion, the embargo came without warning. One day, Earth was a junior member of the Galactic Federation. The next, we were outcasts. The sleek ships of the alien coalition vanished from our skies. The Federation diplomats packed their belongings and left without explanation. Their advanced technology, which had transformed our world for 2 decades, was stripped away almost overnight. Evolutionary incompatibility, they called it. Humanity was too unpredictable, too resourceful in ways they found disturbing. Our tendency to repurpose technology, to take something designed for one purpose and adapt it for another, unnerved them. It was primitive thinking, they said. Dangerous. The Federation imposed a technological quarantine. Earth was cut off from interstellar trade routes and forbidden access to advanced tech. The few human colonies established beyond our solar system were abandoned, left to fend for themselves. They expected us to wither and regress. They were wrong. In the ruins of what was once Singapore, now a sprawling megacity of salvage yards and makeshift factories, Ilara Chen stood on the roof of her workshop. The evening air was thick with the smell of metal and ozone. Below her, the city glowed with the light of 1,000 forges, welders working through the night to repurpose whatever scraps they could find. Ilara wiped sweat from her brow, leaving a streak of grease across her forehead. At 32, she had only vague memories of the time before the Federation arrived, and clearer ones of when they left. As Earth's governments collapsed under the strain of technological withdrawal, people like Ilara rose from the chaos. Engineers, inventors, scavengers with a gift for making something from nothing. Director Chen, a voice called from the workshop below. It's ready for testing. She made her way down the stairs, past walls lined with salvaged Federation tech, circuit boards, power couplings, fragments of alloys that Earth's scientists were still struggling to replicate. Her team of 12 stood around a workbench, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of the device at the center. Is that it? She asked, approaching cautiously. The core from the wreckage. Santos, her chief engineer, nodded. We've managed to interface it with our systems. Barely. It's like nothing we've ever seen. 3 months ago, a deep-sea expedition had discovered the remains of a ship, not Federation, but something far older. The wreckage predated humanity's contact with alien life by at least 1,000 years. Most of it had corroded away, but at its heart they found a crystalline structure, perfectly preserved, pulsing with energy. Ilara placed her hand near the crystal, feeling the strange warmth it emitted. Power output. Fluctuating, Santos replied. But at its peaks, more than anything we've developed post-embargo, and we're only accessing a fraction of its potential. She nodded, mind racing. What if we combined it with the Federation thruster tech we salvaged from the abandoned outpost on Mars? Santos looked uncertain. Their systems aren't designed to interface with unknown tech. That's their whole philosophy. Controlled compatibility, certified connections, everything in its proper place. That's their weakness, Ilara said, a smile spreading across her face. They can only think in straight lines. We think in circles, in spirals, in whatever shape gets the job done. 6 months later, the first prototype was ready. They called it Phoenix, an appropriate name for a vessel born from ashes and scraps. From the outside, it looked like a patchwork monstrosity. Federation hull plating welded to Earth steel, repurposed commercial satellites serving as sensor arrays, and cooling systems adapted from pre-embargo refrigeration technology. Inside was Ilara's masterpiece, the ancient crystal, now housed in a containment system of her own design, interfaced with modified Federation dry technology. The result was a hybrid propulsion system that, in theory, could achieve faster-than-light travel without accessing the Federation's jealously guarded hyperspace networks. The test flight was scheduled for dawn. As the sun rose over the Pacific, Ilara stood before her assembled team. "They left us for dead," she said, her voice carrying across the launch pad. "The Federation abandoned humanity because they feared what we might become. Today, we proved them right. The Phoenix shuddered as its engines came to life. The crystal core pulsed, its light visible through specialized viewport panels along the hull. Ilara strapped herself into the pilot's seat, running through the pre-flight checks with practiced precision. Control, this is Phoenix. Systems nominal. Crystal integration at 87% and holding stable. Copy that, Phoenix. Santos' voice crackled through the comm. You are cleared for atmospheric exit. Good hunting. The ship rose slowly at first, then with increasing speed as the hybrid engines found their rhythm. The sky darkened from blue to black as the Phoenix ascended beyond Earth's atmosphere, the crystal core humming with energy. Ilara's plan was simple, a quick sortie to Mars and back, proving the viability of their hybrid FTL system. What she didn't anticipate was the Federation patrol vessel waiting in the shadow of the moon. Unidentified craft. A cold, artificial voice announced over an open frequency. You are in violation of Galactic Federation Embargo Act 27-3. Power down immediately and prepare for boarding. Ilara's heart raced. Discovery now would mean the end, not just for her and the Phoenix, but for the entire project. Earth would face sanctions, perhaps even orbital bombardment to eliminate the technological contamination. Phoenix, we're picking up Federation signals, Santos warned over the secure channel. Abort mission. Get back down here now. But running meant certain capture. The patrol vessel was already moving to intercept, its sleek form gleaming in the sunlight. Federation ships were faster, more maneuverable, and better armed than anything humanity had cobbled together since the embargo. Or so they thought. Santos, record everything, Ilara said calmly. I'm going to test our theory. She activated the crystal core's secondary function, the one they'd discovered by accident during testing. The energy signature of the Phoenix shifted, became unstable by Federation standards, but perfectly controlled by Ilara's unconventional programming. The patrol vessel fired a warning shot, a pulse of energy that should have disabled the Phoenix's electrical systems. Instead, the crystal absorbed the energy, incorporating it into its own matrix. Unidentified craft, this is your final warning, the Federation voice announced. Power down, or we will take lethal action. Ilara took a deep breath and engaged the full power of the hybrid drive. The Phoenix lurched forward, accelerating at a rate that should have been impossible for a ship of its size and makeshift construction. The crystal core blazed with light, channeling energy through systems that were never designed to work together, but somehow did. The Federation vessel attempted to pursue but couldn't match the Phoenix's unpredictable flight pattern. Ilara pushed the ship harder, executing maneuvers that would have torn apart a conventionally designed spacecraft. The hybrid nature of the Phoenix, part Federation tech, part Earth ingenuity, part ancient crystal mystery, made it something new entirely. They can't track us, Ilara realized, watching the Federation ship fall behind. Their systems are calibrated for known propulsion signatures. We're outside their parameters. With a final burst of speed, the Phoenix left the patrol vessel far behind, accelerating toward Mars. The hybrid FTL drive engaged, and for the first time in 20 years, humans traveled faster than light without Federation assistance. The journey to Mars took minutes rather than months. Ilara brought the Phoenix into orbit around the red planet, scanning the surface for the abandoned Federation outpost. There, amid the dust storms, stood the remnants of humanity's brief expansion into the solar system. Habitat domes, research facilities, and, most importantly, a communications array powerful enough to reach the scattered human colonies beyond the embargo line. Ilara landed near the array and worked quickly, connecting the Phoenix's systems to the dormant Federation equipment. The message she broadcast was simple. The embargo can be broken. We have the technology. Phoenix has risen. The return journey to Earth was uneventful. The Federation patrol vessel had retreated, likely to report the anomalous encounter to its superiors. By the time they returned in force, Ilara's team would be ready. News of the Phoenix's success spread like wildfire. From hidden workshops and underground laboratories around the world, other engineers and inventors emerged with their own adaptations of salvage technology. The Federation had assumed that without access to their manufacturing methods and scientific databases, humans would be unable to maintain the technology they left behind, let alone improve upon it. They hadn't counted on humanity's greatest talent, making do with what we have. Within a year, a dozen Phoenix-class ships had been constructed in secret facilities around Earth. Each incorporated the crystal technology, now called Adaptive Integration Matrices, or AIM. The Federation's standardized systems rejected unauthorized connections. AIM embraced them, creating synergies between technologies never meant to work together. The first interstellar mission targeted Proxima Centauri, home to one of the abandoned human colonies. The small settlement had been struggling to survive after Federation support vanished. When 3 Phoenix-class ships appeared in their sky, the colonists wept with joy and relief. But the mission brought back more than supplies and hope. It returned with information. The Federation wasn't as unified as it appeared. Several member species were uncomfortable with the embargo on humanity, seeing it as an overreaction driven by the dominant Araxian species' cultural obsession with technological purity. More importantly, the Federation's defenses were built around countering known threats. Their sensors, weapons, and tactics all assumed certain technological limitations and standard approaches. They weren't prepared for ships that could absorb energy attacks, repurpose them, and use unpredictable hybrid systems that defied their categorical understanding of technology. They'd grown complacent. Ilara told Earth's newly formed Defense Council. They've forgotten what it's like to face an enemy who doesn't play by their rules. The Council was skeptical. We have, 20 ships now? 30. The Federation has thousands. This isn't a war we can win through direct confrontation. No, Ilara agreed. But we don't need to win that way. We need to prove that humanity cannot be contained, that we cannot be controlled. The Federation abandoned us because they feared our potential. Let's show them they were right to be afraid. The plan they developed was audacious. Simultaneous strikes on Federation outposts throughout the solar system, followed by a strategic withdrawal before reinforcements could arrive. Not to destroy. Destruction wasn't the goal, but to demonstrate that the embargo had failed, that humanity had not only survived but thrived in the face of abandonment. As the Phoenix rose once more from Earth's surface, leading a fleet of hybrid vessels toward the Federation monitoring station orbiting Jupiter, Ilara felt a fierce pride. The ships around her were ugly by Federation standards. Asymmetrical, patched together from mismatched parts, trailing unusual energy signatures that would set Federation sensors haywire. They were beautiful to her. They represented everything the Federation failed to understand about humanity. We didn't need their perfect symmetry or their certified compatibility. We needed only the freedom to invent, to adapt, to overcome. The fleet accelerated toward Jupiter, toward the first battle in humanity's rebellion against those who had judged us and found us wanting. They had mocked our scrap technology, our desperate innovations, our refusal to accept the limitations they imposed. Soon, they would learn what humans do when backed into a corner. We don't surrender. We get creative. The stars belong to us. The Araxian High Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Zev Terran completed his report. The holographic display at the center of the room showed the remains of the monitoring station near Jupiter, a twisted mass of metal and crystalline components floating in the gas giant's orbit. "This is the 4th outpost destroyed in as many weeks," the Admiral said, his scaled skin flushing a deep purple with anger. "The humans are using technology that should be beyond their capability. Worse, they're combining our systems with unknown elements in ways that circumvent our defenses." Supreme Counselor Clara rose from her seat, her ceremonial robes glittering under the chamber's lights. "How is this possible? The embargo was absolute. We stripped their colonies of everything above Category 3 technology. Their world was reduced to pre-spaceflight status. That is what makes them dangerous," another counselor interjected. We've always seen technology as a linear progression, with each advance building upon standardized foundations. Humans don't think that way. They improvise. They adapt. When denied access to our technological path, they forge their own. Kalera's compound eyes narrowed. Then we must end this rebellion before it spreads. Prepare the Seventh Fleet. We will make an example of Earth that the galaxy will not soon forget. Light years away on the bridge of the Phoenix, Ilara Chen received news of the Federation's decision from one of their unexpected allies, a Treveri information broker who had grown sympathetic to the human cause. They're mobilizing their primary battle group, Santos translated from the encrypted transmission. Planet-killer weaponry is being loaded as we speak. Ilara nodded, unsurprised but concerned. The raids on Federation outposts had served their purpose, demonstrating humanity's resilience and technological ingenuity. But she had always known it would come to this. Direct confrontation with the full might of the Federation. Relay the coordinates to all Phoenix-class vessels, she ordered. It's time for Phase 2. The human fleet had grown to nearly 100 ships, each unique in its construction, but sharing the core AIM technology that made them so unpredictable to Federation tracking systems. They gathered at Proxima Centauri, now the headquarters of humanity's resistance movement, preparing for what might be their final stand. Ilara addressed the assembled captains from the Phoenix's bridge, her face transmitted to screens across the fleet. The Federation believes they're coming to punish us, to finish what they started when they abandoned humanity 20 years ago. They expect us to fight conventionally, to defend Earth, to protect our colonies. We're not going to do that. She activated a holographic display showing not Earth, but the Araxian homeworld of Vextura. While they marshal their forces against Earth, we're going to strike at the heart of the Federation. Not to destroy, not to conquer, but to prove once and for all that humanity cannot be contained. The plan was daring to the point of insanity. While the Federation's Seventh Fleet approached the Sol system, the Phoenix fleet would use their hybrid FTL drives to bypass the standard hyperspace routes and appear directly in orbit around Vextura. The crystal cores had revealed an unexpected property, the ability to phase partially out of normal space, rendering the ships nearly invisible to standard detection systems for brief periods. They think they know what we're capable of, Ilara continued. They've studied our raids, analyzed our technology. But they're still thinking like the Federation, expecting us to use our tools in predictable ways. We're about to show them how creative humans can really be. The journey to Vextura would push the limits of their hybrid technology. No human had ever traveled so far from Earth. The risks were enormous, but so were the stakes. If the Federation succeeded in their planned assault on Earth, humanity's brief resurgence would end in fire and ash. The fleet departed Proxima Centauri under phase cloak, disappearing from conventional sensors. The crystal cores pulsed with energy, guiding the ships through ripples in space-time that the Federation had never mapped or explored. It wasn't the neat, orderly hyperspace lanes the Federation used, but a chaotic, shifting path that reflected humanity's own journey. During the 3-day journey, Ilara spent hours studying the information their allies had provided about Vextura. The Araxian homeworld was a monument to ordered development, cities built in perfect geometric patterns, technology that followed strict evolutionary paths, a society that valued symmetry and predictability above all else. It was everything humanity was not. When the Phoenix fleet emerged from their unconventional FTL corridor, Vextura's twin suns were rising over the capital city. The planet's defensive grid was oriented outward, designed to detect ships approaching along the established hyperspace routes. Nothing in their security protocols accounted for a fleet appearing seemingly from nowhere, using drive signatures that defied categorization. All ships maintain phase cloak, Ilara ordered. Deploy the packages as planned. No weapons fire unless absolutely necessary. Across the fleet, small shuttles detached from their carrier vessels, each bearing a special payload developed in Earth's hidden laboratories. Not bombs or conventional weapons, but something far more disruptive to the ordered Araxian world. Adaptive integration nodes, based on the ancient crystal technology, but miniaturized and programmed to interface with Federation systems. The shuttles descended through Vextura's atmosphere, scattering thousands of the nodes across the planet's surface. Each node, upon contact with Federation technology, began to do what humans did best: improvise, adapt, and overcome. Federation communication networks suddenly carried phantom signals. Transportation systems were routed without authorization. Energy grids reconfigured themselves in patterns that technically increased efficiency but violated every protocol in the Federation's technological rulebook. Chaos erupted, but not destruction. Nothing failed catastrophically. Instead, systems continued to function, just not in ways the Araxians could predict or control. In the capital city, Supreme Counselor Clara watched in horror as the perfect order of her world dissolved into improvisation. Above her, the skyline of the city, once a testament to Araxian geometric precision, began to shift as building systems reconfigured themselves based on usage patterns rather than predetermined plans. What is happening? She demanded of her science advisors. How are they doing this? Before they could answer, every communication screen in the city flickered to life with the same image. Ilara Chen, standing on the bridge of the Phoenix, the patchwork construction of the human vessel visible behind her. People of the Galactic Federation, Ilara began, her voice calm and measured. You know us as the species you abandoned 20 years ago. You expected us to wither and die without your technology, your guidance, your approved evolutionary path. Instead, we did what humans have always done. We adapted. We took what was left behind and made it better. We found our own path. The Phoenix decloaked in low orbit, its hybrid systems now operating openly, challenging everything the Federation thought they knew about technological development. The integration nodes deployed on Vextura are not weapons, Ilara continued. They're teachers. They're showing your systems what they could become if freed from the constraints of your rigid thinking. Nothing will be permanently altered. When we leave, you can return everything to its proper, predictable state if you wish. She leaned forward, her eyes intense. But know this, the embargo ends today. Humanity claims its place among the stars not as your students or your supplicants, but as your equals. We don't need your approval or your certification. We've proven we can survive without you. The question now is whether you're willing to adapt to a galaxy that includes us. The message ended, but its impact was just beginning. Across Vextura, Federation citizens witnessed firsthand the potential of adaptive integration. Energy systems operated at 143% of rated capacity without overheating. Transportation networks reconfigured to eliminate congestion without central control. Communication arrays processed multiple signal types simultaneously, something Federation engineers had declared theoretically impossible. In orbit, the Phoenix fleet maintained position, making no aggressive moves but refusing to withdraw. They had thrown down their challenge. Now they waited for the Federation's response. It came 3 days later. The Seventh Fleet, recalled from its approach to Earth, arrived at Vextura through conventional hyperspace routes. Hundreds of Federation warships, gleaming and symmetrical, faced off against the ragtag human fleet. They outnumber us 10 to 1. Santos observed grimly on the Phoenix's bridge. If they open fire, they won't, Ilara said with quiet confidence. Look closer. The Federation flagship was approaching under minimal power, its weapon systems in standby mode. A communication request came through on an open channel. Supreme Counselor Clara's face appeared on the Phoenix's main screen. The Araxian leader looked different somehow, her usual composure replaced by something like reluctant respect. Director Chen, she began formally. The High Council has reviewed your demonstration and your demands. We find ourselves reconsidering our previous assessment of human technological potential. Ilara kept her expression neutral. The embargo ends. All human colonies are recognized as sovereign territories. We will have free access to trade routes and exchange of information. Kalera's compound eyes blinked rapidly, an Araxian sign of intense calculation. The Federation has standards, protocols, which we've proven are merely guidelines, not universal laws. Ilara interrupted. You feared us because we think differently. You should fear us more if you make us your enemies. A tense silence followed, broken finally by Kalera's slow nod. The High Council proposes a new designation for Earth and its colonies, associate members, not bound by Federation technological protocols, but with full access to Federation space and resources, and recognition of all technology developed during the embargo period as legitimately owned and operated by humanity, Ilara added, including the adaptive integration matrix systems. Another hesitation, then. Agreed, with the provision that dangerous applications be jointly regulated. Ilara smiled for the first time. Define dangerous, Counselor. What's dangerous to a society that fears change might be essential to one that embraces it. Kalera made a gesture that approximated a human shrug. Perhaps this is something we can learn from each other. The Federation has existed for 12,000 years by following certain principles, but principles that cannot bend will eventually break. The treaty was formalized 3 months later aboard the Phoenix, symbolizing the Federation's acceptance of humanity's unconventional approach. Earth and its colonies would not be integrated into the Federation's strict technological hierarchy, but would exist alongside it, a constant reminder that there was more than one path to the stars. 5 years passed. The human fleet grew, not just in numbers but in capability. The AM technology evolved, incorporating elements from a dozen alien civilizations, each addition making it more versatile, more powerful, harder to categorize or counter. Ships that had once been mockingly called jump keeps by Federation observers were now sought after by traders, explorers, and even Federation officials looking to travel beyond the established routes. The Phoenix itself, now upgraded many times over, but still bearing the scars and patches of its original construction, became a symbol of humanity's approach to the universe, adapting, improvising, succeeding against all odds. Ilara Chen, once a scavenger in the ruins of Singapore, now held the title of Human Ambassador to the Galactic Congress. On the 10th anniversary of the Phoenix's first flight, she stood before representatives of 300 alien species and reflected on humanity's journey. The Federation abandoned us because they believed technology should follow predefined paths, she told the assembled dignitaries. They couldn't understand a species that saw possibility where they saw only incompatibility. They expected us to fail when deprived of their guidance. Instead, we flourished. She gestured to the view screen showing Earth as it now was, a world of innovation where human engineers worked alongside aliens who had broken from Federation orthodoxy, creating technologies that defied categorization. We offered the galaxy an alternative to the Federation's linear thinking. Not better, not worse, but different. Essential. There are now two approaches to technology in our galaxy, the Federation's path of careful, controlled evolution, and humanity's path of adaptive integration. Both have their place. Both have their purpose. The chamber erupted in approval, not just from humans and their allies, but from many Federation representatives as well. The most visionary among them had recognized that humanity's chaotic approach to technology provided a useful counterbalance to their own methodical development. After the ceremony, Ilara returned to the Phoenix, now permanently docked at Earth's orbital station as a museum and monument. She ran her hand along a section of hull plating. Federation alloy welded to Earth steel, the seam rough but stronger than either material alone. Santos joined her, his hair now gray, his face lined with the years, but his eyes still bright with curiosity. Did you ever think we'd end up here? Commanding respect instead of ridicule. Ilara smiled, thinking back to those desperate days after the embargo, when Earth's future seemed so uncertain. I knew we'd survive. I didn't know we'd thrive. I didn't know we'd change the galaxy. What's next? Santos asked. We've broken the embargo, established ourselves as a power in the galaxy, even forced the Federation to reconsider its fundamental approach to technology. What more is there? Ilara's gaze turned to the viewport, where beyond Earth, beyond the solar system, beyond even the territories mapped by the Federation, the universe stretched infinite and unexplored. Everything, she said simply. Everything is next. The Phoenix remained in orbit around Earth, a monument to human ingenuity and determination. But across the galaxy, thousands of ships bearing its legacy ventured outward, each one a testament to humanity's greatest strength, our refusal to accept limitations, our drive to create something from nothing, our ability to find possibility in the discarded and overlooked. They had mocked our scrap technology once. Now we commanded the galaxy, not through force or fear, but through innovation and adaptation. The stars belonged to everyone now, but it was humanity who had truly shown the way to reach them, not by following the established path, but by forging our own.